Armored Core 6 is a recent action game made by FromSoft involving cool, awesome giant fighting robots. It has a very thoughtful combat system, and you have a lot of control over how you choose to engage the fight. The name of the game is floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee. You've got your quick boost, gap closing assault boost, guns, melee weapons, guns, missiles, cannons, jumping, floating. There's a lot of movement and combat actions that will make you feel like a badass ace pilot. The movement in the game also revolves around a stagger gauge that will affect how you choose to engage bosses and will dictate how challenging they will be. And speaking of challenges, there are plenty of spikes of difficulty with some of the fights that will catch players off guard. You go through the game choosing different missions with some limited choices that affect how different events happen and how some endings play out, with an intermission in between missions that allow you to customize your mecha or armored core. You're also free to replay older missions if you want to get more money to buy items from the parts shop as they become more and more available. Customization is certainly a big draw to Armored Core, as you can select your weapon loadout and a variety of parts that allow you to decide if you want to be that fast and nimble pilot, or a slow and steady heavy hitter, or anything in between. However, the stagger system may stifle your creativity with builds because of how prevalent it is. As for the story, the game has a pretty cohesive story. While you can do one playthrough, it encourages you to do successive playthroughs and play through different missions so you can piece things together with each playthrough. This doesn't mean your first playthrough will be bare and boring. It's certainly engaging enough to keep you interested in the events going on in the world you're fighting in, as well as make you feel an attachment to some of the characters you meet. The graphics and presentation of this game are honestly pretty gorgeous. You can absolutely tell that this game is a passion project by FromSoft. There's a lot of very small details, between the small control thrusters that stabilize your AC whenever you shift movements, to small details on every single mecha and stage. There's a lot of thoughtful design choices that help you feel immersed in the gritty world of RUBICON. It's a very beautiful game. The soundtrack, however, for me, felt pretty lacking. I normally play with my music volume noticeably higher than the sound effects, because the latter tends to drown out the music at times. However, when I played through the game, I hardly noticed the OSC in the background, except for a very small handful of missions. A lot of the music to me, as a result, didn't feel very memorable. It was largely forgettable, and it's one of the few times in games where I honestly enjoyed playing the game, where I just didn't care about the music. I understand the design direction and intention for how they constructed it, but for me, it definitely missed the mark. To recap, overall, I think the game is pretty good. As a mecha game, it's pretty great. I think it's relatively accessible as well. It's definitely challenging, and it will pick your brain and make you change how you engage bosses through customizing your AC and how you strategize to fight the bosses, or both. The gameplay, as a result, is fun with plenty of replayability. Story is great. Game looks fantastic, but the soundtrack to me is a bit forgettable. If I try to remove my bias as strong as I can, I would say the game is an 8.5 out of 10. Stay tuned for a review charged with the bias of an old Armored Core fan and how I felt about the game with that as my perspective. Hope to see you later. Take care.